To a burning ring of fire, I went down, 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 and the flames.
Hello and welcome back to Friday Reads, where we help you find your next read. I'm Jill.
And I'm Julie, and this week we are highlighting books that have to do with fire because Fire Safety and Fire Prevention Week is October 3rd through October 9th. So I'm going to kick it over to Jill to kick us off.
So my first one is called Firestorm at Peshtigo, a town, its people, and the deadliest fire in American history by Denise Guess and William Lutz. This week marks the 150th anniversary of the Peshtigo fire. In fact, it's today, October 8th, the deadliest fire in U.S. history. It is often forgotten because it happened the same day as the Great Chicago Fire. So this chronicles that fire. On October 8, 1871, the same night as the Great Chicago Fire, the lumber town of Peshtigo, Wisconsin, was struck with a 5-mile wide wall of flames borne on tornado-force winds of 100 miles an hour that tore across more than 2,400 square miles of land, obliterating the town in less than an hour and killing more than 2,000 people. At the center of the blowout were politically driven newsmen Luther Noyes and Franklin Tilton, money-seeking lumber baron Isaac Stevenson, parish priest Father Peter Pernin, and meteorologist Increase Lapham. In Firestorm at Peshtigo, Denise Guess and William Lutz vividly recreate their personal and political battles leading to this monumental natural disaster and deliver it from the lost annals of American history. So, if you want to learn more about the forgotten fire, the deadliest in U.S. history.
Yeah. Post Crescent's been covering that this week with the 150th anniversary. It's just horrifying to read that. Yeah. They have a whole fire museum up in Peshtigo dedicated to that. I've never been there, but I know they have one. My first pick is Not That I Could Tell by Jessica Strasser, published in 2018. And mine is a group of neighborhood women gather, wine in hand, around the fire pit in the backyard, where their backyards all meet one Saturday night. Most of those women are just ecstatic to have discovered that their baby monitors reach that far, that they can sit around the fire pit and still hear the babies. It's a rare kid-free night for these moms, and they're giddy with it. They drink a little too much, and the conversation turns personal. By Monday morning, one of them is gone. Everyone knows something about everyone else in this quirky small Ohio town of Yellow Springs, but no one can make sense of the disappearance. Kristen was a sociable twin mom, college administrator, and a doctor's wife who didn't seem all that bothered with her impending divorce. And the investigation turns up more questions than answers, with her husband Paul at the center. For her closest neighbor, Clara, the incident triggers memories she thought she'd put behind her, and when she's unable to extract herself from the widening circle of scrutiny, her own suspicions grow quickly. But the neighborhood's newest addition, Izzy, is determined not to jump to any conclusions, especially since she's dealing with a crisis of her own. If you're fans of Leanne Moriarty's Big Little Lies and Jennifer Kitz's Small Hours, this book might be one for you. And it's going to have you thinking how well anyone really knows anyone else.
Such a truth in life. The next one I have is Catherine Center's Things You Save in a Fire. This was published in 2019. Cassie Hanwell was born for emergencies. As one of the only female firefighters in her Texas firehouse, she's seen her fair share of them, and she's excellent at dealing with other people's tragedies. But when her estranged and ailing mother asks her to uproot her life and move to Boston, it's an emergency of a kind Cassie never anticipated. The tough old-school Boston firehouse is different from Cassie's old job, as it could possibly be. Hazing, a lack of funding, and poor facilities mean that the firemen aren't exactly thrilled to have a lady on the crew, even one as competent and smart as Cassie, except for the handsome rookie who doesn't seem to mind having Cassie around. But she can't think about that, because she doesn't fall in love, and because of the advice of her old captain gave her, don't date firefighters. Cassie can feel her resolve slipping, but will she jeopardize her place in a career where she's worked so hard to be taken seriously? So, I think this was on another list of ours.
I think it was too. My second pick goes to cooking, and this is Martin Norden's second book, which was published in 2020. This is Fire, Smoke, Green, Vegetarian Barbecue, Smoking, and Grilling Recipes. In this book, he brings us a host of mouthwatering modern vegetarian recipes using the most elemental and ancient method of cooking, Fire. Not just a barbecue cookbook, Fire Smoke Green is broken up into 7 chapters that cover everything you need to know about making great food over the flame. From grilling directly onto fire to cooking with indirect fire, smoked recipes, and even wood-fired pizzas. Great photography and charming illustrations throughout the book bring you something other than your average vegetarian cookbook. As lovers of Martin's first book, Green Burgers, will attest, his approach to meat-free cooking is anything but boring. Some recipes in this book. He's got roasted and smoked potatoes with beer caramelized onions. He's got fennel roots with shiitake, green onion, buckwheat, and herb oil. And if you still can't get enough of the burger recipes, why not try the zucchini and mung bean burgers with sriracha mayonnaise? So, Fire, Smoke, Green.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
I think mung beans are an impossible burgers. All right, my next one is about a fire, the library book by Susan Orlean. This was published in 2018. It's a nonfiction account of another infamous fire at the Los Angeles Public Library. On the morning of April 29, 1986, a fire alarm sounded in the Los Angeles Public Library. As the moments passed, the patrons and staff who had been cleared out of the building realized this was not the usual fire alarm. As one fireman recounted, once that first stack got going, it was goodbye Charlie. The fire was disastrous. It reached 2,000 degrees and burned for more than 7 hours. By the time it was extinguished, it had consumed 400,000 books and damaged 700,000 more. Investigators descended on the scene, but more than 30 years later, the mystery remains. Did someone purposely set fire to the library? And if so, who? Weaving her lifelong love of books and reading into an investigation of the fire, award-winning New Yorker reporter and New York Times best-selling author Susan Orlean delivers a mesmerizing and uniquely compelling book that manages to tell the broader story of libraries and librarians in a way that has never been done before. In the library book, Orlean chronicles the Los Angeles Public Library fire and its aftermath to showcase the larger, crucial role that libraries play in our lives, delves into the evolution of libraries across the country and around the world, brings each department of the library to vivid life through her on-ground reporting, and re-examines the case of Harry Peake, the blonde-haired actor long suspected of setting the fire more than 30 years ago. So, yeah, this was fun.
Listen to that one as an audiobook. Love that book.
If you like libraries.
My next pick is another tragedy. This is Fire in Paradise, an American tragedy, which was published back in 2020. It's the harrowing story of another destructive American wildfire. There's no precedent in post-war American history for the destruction of the town of Paradise, California. On November 8th, 2018, the community of 27,000 people was swallowed by the ferocious campfire, which razed virtually every home, and it killed at least 85 people. The catastrophe seared the American imagination, taking the front page of every major national newspaper and top billing on the news networks. It displaced tens of thousands of people, yielding a refugee crisis that continues to unfold. In this book, Fire in Paradise, a dramatic and moving narrative of the disaster based on hundreds of in-depth interviews with residents, firefighters, and police scientific experts is contained in this nonfiction book. The authors are California-based journalists who have reported on Paradise since the day the fire began, and together they reveal the heroics of the first responders, the miraculous escapes of those who got out of Paradise, and the horrors experienced by those who were trapped. Their accounts in this book are intimate and unforgettable, including the local who left her home on foot as fire approached while her 82-year-old father stayed to battle the fire, the firefighter who drove into the heart of the inferno in his bulldozer, the police officer who switched on his body cam to record what he thought would be his final moments as the flames closed in, and the mother who less than 12 hours after giving birth in the local hospital thought she would die in the chaotic evacuation with her baby in her lap. It's the story of a town at the forefront of a devastating global shift, of a remarkable